How's it going, everybody? It's Keenest Fox here. This is my channel where I talk about anime, video games, cartoons, most notably Sonic and Ninja Turtles. And today, I'm actually going to be doing a little bit of an interesting video. So if you read the title, it's called, I'm going to basically title it something like pretty much the body count of the IDW Tmnt and stuff. So basically, I'm going to be talking about all the major deaths and stuff, or all the some of the character deaths. I'm not going to be talking about like random fodder deaths, like, oh, this foot ninja just got killed here, this group of innocent people got killed there. No, I'm just going to be strictly talking about some of the major characters or some minor characters. Not every minor character, but at least some. Because you might have that one minor supporting character or something from this character's tragic backstory or something like that. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about that here. And the reason why I came up with this idea and the reason why I kind of wanted to talk about it is because I feel like Armageddon games is kind of seems like a bit of an end game for Ninja Turtles and stuff as far as the IDW comics go. Because, I mean, I kind of know IDW comics ain't really doing too hot as a company. So we'll have to see what happens from there. But as far as anything goes, it seems like yeah, Armageddon games definitely seems like it might be just the in-game and stuff. There's been a couple of major character deaths and stuff, terror, panic in the streets and everything. So I'll give you my opinion and some context about some of these character deaths and whatnot. Basically, so yeah. So kick back and yeah, here I go. Alright, so I'm going to try and keep this chronological order. So, starting off the bat, I have Dragon. So, basically, Dragon is like a nigh omnipotent god, basically, and you're probably wondering, how exactly does a nigh omnipotent god die? Yeah, that was my question too. So basically, there are two beings that are nigh omnipotent inside the IDW Ninja Turtle universe. There is Dragon, and then there is Dreamer. They're both brother and sister and stuff. They are both the son and daughter of a omnipotent god, obviously. But anyways, but basically, Dragon is like kind of like the embodiment of everything that is evil, death, you name it, all negativity inside the universe. Whereas Dreamer is like the embodiment of everything that is positive and life and all that stuff. So basically, they got into it. Dreamer ended up sealing Dragon away inside a human body, that being inside Takashi Tetsu and stuff. So therefore, Dragon had to, die in. Yeah, uh, so yeah, pretty much he was shackled by mortality that way, I guess. Sorry, it's been a while. I might have to reread some of these comics and stuff to try and give a more better grasp. But yeah, but major character death here inside the like pretty much the cosmic side of things is Dragon and stuff. But of course, as you know, Dragon is also the dad of the Pantheon, the father and everything. His children being like Rat King and Kasune, and so on and so forth. Basically, so yeah. And as of course they're making a whole big thing with this whole Armageddon game, of course, because those two are the major players. All right, so coming at number two, I have Takashi Tetsu. Takashi Tetsu is the basically he is Shredder's past life, Orokusaki, and stuff. He was killed by Orokumaji and stuff. One of like his little enemy and stuff. And then eventually, after his death, pretty much he was reincarnated as Orokusaki. Ironically, that was that was an intention by Kasune. She was like, "Oh, you killed my dragon warrior. Okay, I'm gonna make him reincarnate as your son and plague you." So then, basically, that was some troll shit that Kasune did. She had Shredder reborn as Orokumaji's son. And then pretty much when Shredder found out the truth about his dad, and of course about Splinter's master as well, because he helped kill him, Shredder pretty much went off and killed his own dad, Orokumaji, and he ended up killing Master Splinter's master, Master Masato. Sorry. So basically, that's how they met their end. Then coming up next, we get into some of the origins here. So we have Tang Shin. Tang Shin is killed by a foot ninja, by a couple of foot ninja and stuff when Hamato Yoshi was out, and was almost like, and those foot ninjas almost killed the past lives of the Ninja Turtles. And then a couple years later, Hamato Yoshi and his sons, basically Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo's past lives, they were all caught, captured, killed by the Shredder, and decapitated. Basically, it was pretty messed up, and this is probably one of the most darkest origins of Ninja Turtles to this date. at least for like the Ninja Turtles, that is. But I stand by that. Anyways, next up I have Traxxas. I can't remember too much of this character either. I know, don't at me, but Traxxas is actually a part of Krang's. Basically, he is the architect of Krang's body, basically, and I'm assuming Krang must have killed him or something and had made him a part of his body and all that stuff. So if you see Krang's main body, the bald one and everything, yeah, that's basically Traxxas. Next up, we have Quan Yin. That's Krang's dad. He also died. I kind of searched some of this stuff up on Wikipedia just so I can kind of remember who got killed by who or like who's dead and whatnot to kind of compose this list, basically. So I can't really, like I said, I can't give you the context of everything, and I'm purely just going off of memory. Next up, I have Casey Jones's mom, Mrs. Jones. Yes, Casey's mom, she had passed away in this version due to cancer. I think it was cancer, or it might have been some kind of sickness, but basically she was dying, and this is also what kind of created a bit of a wedge between Casey and his dad, Hun and stuff. This like created a whole wedge between them where Hun started drinking more often than not, and Casey, he was growing a little bit distant, cold towards his dad, but he promised his mom he would have to look out for him. But that didn't exactly end too well. But yeah, next up I have Angel's mom. Angel, of course, is Angel Bridge is one of Casey's friends and stuff, and just like Casey, she had also lost her mom. I'm not sure if it was also to cancer or if it was just a sickness or something, but yeah, she had passed away. But yeah, next up I have Karai's dad, Oroku Yuri. Oroku Yuri, according to Karai, said that he was killed by the stress or something. Oroku Yuri, he used to be the leader of the Foot Clan and stuff before Karai, and he used to use it just to pull off, just a lot of just like some petty crime and all that stuff, and just some shady shit like that. Pretty much, and Karai kind of turned it into his original purpose of the Foot Clan and stuff, which was to revive Shredder and everything. But Oroku Yuri before Karai, apparently died of stress or something. I don't know, or maybe Karai might have killed him. It's just stated by Karai that her dad passed away. Next up I have Professor Honeycutt's family. Professor Honeycutt's family had also passed away. I have a Blind Buck and stuff. Blind Buck, he was one of Raphael's friends. So if you don't know, inside Ninja Turtles in the beginning, Raphael ended up getting separated by his brothers during their mutation and stuff. So he kind of grew up like a year without them and stuff, pretty much alone. And this is kind of also justification as to why he has such a hot temper. But anyways, he met a guy, Blind Buck. He was a nice guy and stuff, but he was killed by some thugs. And of course, Raphael didn't like that, so he got back at those thugs, of course. So, yeah. Alright, next up I got Patrick Miller. I don't really remember this character too well, but I do remember him for getting punched in the face by April. He's from it was from this storyline called Tmnt, The History of the Foot, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, I believe he was like some kind of researcher or something, and he was like looking into the whole Foot Ninja like lore and the legacy and all that stuff. But I guess later on he was killed by Karai, or one of her foot assassins, to kind of cover up the situation. So there is that. Next up I have Antoni Rossetti Sr. He was assassinated by Jenica and stuff. So there's a as you already know, or as some of us probably know, there's a little bit of a Jenica miniseries that obviously got canceled. There was two of them. In the second one, Jenica ends up meeting Antoni's son and stuff, and she kind of realized that she was hired to assassinate his dad at one point in time. So by the Shredder and stuff, when he was still in control of the Foot Clan. So it was a little bit of an interesting story. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't But anyways, yeah, Antoni Rossetti Sr. assassinated by Jenica, and I believe actually his wife was contracted. She made the contract actually, because she wanted to steal his resources and stuff. So that was also pretty wild. Next up, big major death here, the Shredder. Yep, and I'm not even counting Donatello's death either, because I don't really consider it to be a death. I think he was just more so comatose, and he was on the verge of death, but still. I would not count Donatello's death, anyways. But the Shredder, major death from issue 50 and stuff, the Gauntlet. So basically, pretty much there was a challenge issue by Splinter and the Ninja Turtles and stuff when they wanted to settle everything with the Shredder, just straight up. And of course, Shredder sent his best mutants and stuff after the Turtles, and they got into a whole like 4-way, like pretty much like a battle royale. Pretty much, the Turtles came out on top, made their way to Shredder. They fought Shredder on this rooftop battle, but they were pretty much getting their butt kicked. Their butts kicked and stuff by the Shredder. And so Splinter stepped in. They fought. Splinter pretty much cut a fatal wound or whatever to he dealt a fatal wound to Shredder. Shredder was like, "All right, give me a warrior's death." And Splinter was like, "All right, bet." Decapitated Shredder, basically. So yeah, and then this is like really brutal and stuff. Everybody's like, "Holy shit, he did it!" And Michelangelo, he was turned away by all this when Splinter had talked about, he wants to like become the new leader of the Foot Clan now. And Michelangelo like, "Nah, screw everybody. I'm out of here. I didn't sign up for this." So Michelangelo left, and this also created a bit of a wedge between him and Splinter for a while. But and then eventually the other Turtles have followed suit. So there is that. Alright, so next up I got Natsu's parents and her grandpa. So if you don't know, I think Natsu, if I'm not mistaken, is the gender swap of Tetsu from the movies. At least that's what I heard from Geektron. He's another Ninja Turtle YouTuber like myself, or actually now he does more more Ninja Turtle content than I do, honestly. But anyways, but he mentioned that Natsu is basically the gender swap of Tatsu and stuff from the 90s movies and stuff. When originally I thought it was actually the reincarnation of Shredder. That's who I thought. That's what Tetsu was, but I could be mistaken. Anyways, Natsu though, her parents. Natsu's one of Karai's subordinates. She used to be like the granddaughter of this Yakuza boss. That is Hayashi Toru. Basically Hayashi Toru, he's like basically like this Yakuza leader and stuff. Natsu's parents died. And then eventually in this storyline, there's like a little bit of a side story with Karai and stuff where she ends up wanting to like basically Karai was like, doing a lot of soul searching and stuff. She was in Japan, got into a beef with Natsu and stuff, and then she met Hayashi. They talked it out, and he was talking about this legendary sword. Karai picked it up and pretty much used it to pretty much kill the entire Yakuza, including Hayashi himself, decapitating him with this said sword. And this sword was overpowered as shit, and I wish Karai would have kept it around, basically. But it was actually a pretty good story. I can't remember if this was like in Turtles universe or if this was actually inside Karai's Macron series. But I actually thought this was actually a pretty good side comic and stuff. Outside of like Ninja Turtles, is mostly following Karai and her team, like Koya and Blood Jian and stuff, and then Natsu and stuff, etc. So I thought that was actually a pretty nice perspective. But yeah, next up I have Darius Dunn. Darius Dunn was assassinated. Actually, I think he was killed before, anyways, whatever. Still, Darius Dunn, he was assassinated by Jenica and Master Splinter. Pretty much, he got into this war. Darius Dunn is like kind of like this Kingpin type character inside the IDW comics. If you remember Ninja Turtles, fast forward, then you should definitely remember who Darius Dunn is. He was Cody's uncle and stuff, who pretty much was trying to take over O'Neill Tech and all that shit, and he was doing a lot of criminal activities on the side. It's different here, obviously. He's in the present day instead of the future, and he's basically beefing with Master Splinter and stuff with the Foot Clan. He's got the Street Phantoms and all that at his disposal, but eventually it ends up coming to an end when Master Splinter and Jenica end up pretty much, like I said, they end up assassinating him. So yeah, I felt like that was a little bit of a waste of a character. I wish they kind of would have kept Darius Dunn around a lot more, but that's just my opinion. But it was cool that he came back though inside the second Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters crossover, because he was actually like the main antagonist in that. So that was actually pretty cool in my opinion. Alright, so next up I got Slash. So Slash was killed by a nuke implant that Agent Bishop had installed. So basically, Slash had gotten kidnapped by Agent Bishop, and Agent Bishop was like controlling Slash and stuff, brainwashing him, and eventually he ended up putting some kind of like nuke inside of him or whatever, like an implant. Basically, so when Bishop ended up getting away, he was gonna pretty much carpet bomb everybody, pretty much until Slash suggested that, like, or somebody suggested, like, Slash basically like had agreed that he should probably just get away from the island, so that everybody else can survive and he would just die. I was like, man, that is a shitty situation to be in. But I was kind of already betting that there's probably something else lined up, like the Slash clones or something. I kind of thought one of them might actually like replace Slash in terms of like, placement or something, but even they were killed off, unfortunately. So yeah, so I guess no more Slash then, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, but Slash definitely was definitely given a heroic death and stuff in the end, so it is what it is. Alright, next up I got Agent Bishop's dad, Wayne Bishop. He's basically killed by his own son, by those Slash clones and stuff. I don't really remember too much of Agent Bishop's story inside IDW, but I just know that he's like a deformity and all that stuff, and I guess his dad didn't treat him well, I guess, if he's willing to kill him like that. But basically he got stomped to death by the Slash clone, so that was pretty wild. Next up I have Antonio Perzelli. I can't speak. I'm not Italian. Sorry. I'm not exactly good with Italian names. I'm sorry. But anyways, yeah, back when Master Splinter was still running the Foot Clan, basically he was killed in an explosion that was set by Master Splinter and the Foot Clan. Like I said, this version of Master Splinter was not playing games. He is definitely a killer. Like, dude is definitely a killer. But yeah. Next up, I got Agent Bishop. He is basically crushed to death by the Slash clones himself. So I guess that's karma for you. Ocho. So basically, after Karai had lost her little sword's abilities or whatever after it was destroyed, which I kind of like that sword. Too bad it only had a very short conclusion, and sadly, this character also had a pretty short conclusion because once the I guess the seal was released or whatever, Ocho ended up like pretty much turning into a human and ended up dying of old age or something. So yeah. So I guess the curse has been lifted, basically. Anyways, next up I got Hun, Arnold Jones Sr. in this version. So Hun basically, as you know, Hun is a terrible dad to Casey inside this version of IDW. He's an alcoholic, he's abusive, and stuff, and hell, he literally chose to work with the Shredder over his own son, Casey, and stuff, So, yeah, he's definitely tried to, like, antagonize, try to kill his friends and all that stuff, and I think he maybe even tried to kill Casey himself. So, yeah. Hun, not exactly a prize-winning dad at all. Terrible dad. But anyways, but still, nonetheless, though, Hun does, in fact, care about Casey in this version of stuff, being his son. And whatnot, and in the end he actually risked his own life by taking like this like electrocution and stuff, which he ended up dying from for Casey and stuff because Casey was actually the main target, but Hun jumped in the way, and as you know, he was killed. This is when Hun was kind of like working with Agent Bishop and stuff, and then Agent Bishop attacked Casey, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, and then as you know, Hun ended up dying. So yeah. So there was that. Next up I have Master Splinter and stuff. Again, Master Splinter, he ended up dying and stuff because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had to keep the balance and stuff of life and death. So in order to revive the Shredder, Splinter had to sacrifice himself, whereas in order to stop Dragon and stuff. So basically it was all part of Kusune's plan where she was trying to revive her dad, and reviving her dad would mean like the destruction of the entire world if that were given the chance. So, of course, she had to use the Shredder in order to do so, and she's pretty much groomed him for, like, I don't know, hundreds of years for this specific role, but she kind of chickened out, and pretty much, and Master Splinter ended up having to sacrifice himself in order to stop Dragon and in order to revive the Shredder and stuff. So the Shredder is no longer the so-called Dragon Warrior anymore, if I'm not mistaken. And this has kind of led Shredder to become more of an anti-hero and stuff, especially after his trip to Hell. Yeah, pretty much this is what led Shredder into becoming an anti-hero, which, I'm not a huge fan of, but yeah. But Of course, yeah, like I said, Master Splinter, he died. If I'm not mistaken, this is issue 100. But yeah. Alright, next up I have Commander Zom. She is killed by Chirel. That's Ciri's mom and stuff, basically. And this later on leads Ciri to want to get revenge against Chirel, which I'll get into in a second. And then, of course, her doctor, Zora, she is also killed by Chirel. Next up I have Vernon Fenwick. Now, when I first saw Vernon inside the IDW comics and stuff for those first couple of panels, I was like, okay, they got Vernon on here. I'm not like I don't know anyone that's really a huge fan of Vernon or anything, but I was like, okay, nice little reference to 87. And then Vernon gets killed off. I was like, wow, that was just wow. It kind of reminds me of like Batman v Superman with like Jimmy Olsen, who all of a sudden is like a CIA agent and just gets killed off like literally in the first couple of minutes of the movie, and I just thought that was stupid. Kind of how I felt with Vernon, but probably not as bad as like most Superman fans would about Jimmy Olsen. But Vernon, wow, I was like, wow, the man just gets killed in a helicopter crash when Armageddon games just start and this whole alien invasion. I was like, wow, that kind of sucked. Like, for real, like, yeah, like, it just kind of felt like, I don't know, maybe they were trying to spite 87 or something, or whatever. They were like, oh, yeah, look at the character from 87, now we're going to kill him off. Like, wow. So, that was, wow, kind of a waste. But, hey, at least it wasn't Irma, though, I guess, because if it was Irma, oh my fucking god, people would be pissed. I'm telling you that right now. I'm just saying. Alright, so next up, I got Chirel. He is killed by Ciri. Alright. Now, here's where I definitely get a little bit more vocal here. So, I really hate the fact that Chirel was literally killed off by Ciri, and that he was like, because Chirel honestly could have like definitely like succeeded Shredder as Utrom Shredder like he was inside the 2003 cartoon, and I wish they would have given him more storylines and stuff before killing him off, because this just feels like a waste. Like, honestly, like, he's done nothing apart from work for Krang, and then like, I guess he went off on his ones here, but he didn't really do too much, to be honest with you. He was like kind of like, you know, he was actually kind of like actually an interesting character and stuff. Or not an interesting character, but he was actually a pretty cool ass villain. But yeah, he was kind of like alright for like a couple of issues, and he was kind of like the highlight until like all of a sudden they just killed him off. And by Ciri, a character that hasn't gone through any kind of like any type of training or anything, I just felt like, wow, that was just anticlimactic. And what's even worse is that this fight only lasted literally a couple of panels. Okay, a couple of panels. That is terrible. So I'm just like, yeah. And of course, this is also written by Sophie Campbell too. I didn't know this happened until I just like read 138 finally, and I was like, wow, that was just stupid. So yeah, and we never even got to see him in a Shredder suit or anything. I was like, I'm just like, that's terrible. So yeah, killed off by bad writing and killed off by Ciri. Next up, we got Man Ray. Oh, this is where we get to someplace interesting. So basically, if I'm not mistaken, Man Ray was in a little bit of an alliance with the Ninja Turtles and Old Hob and stuff, basically, because they were trying to, you know, again, combat against Madame Knoll and all that stuff. And pretty much when Man Ray was by himself, if you remember the Weasel Girls and stuff, there are these characters that Sophie Campbell had introduced where they're like mutant Weasel Girls and stuff that have been around. They're basically, I guess, being trafficked by Old Hob. It was going to be given to Karai and all that stuff or whatever, but they demonized Old Hob alone. I was like, whatever. But anyways, basically these Weasel Girls come out of nowhere, and they just slit Man Ray's throat. I'm not even making this shit up. They literally show up out of nowhere just to slit Man Ray's throat because they were bitter because he put them in cages. I was like, if this ain't spiteful, I don't know what is. Like, they literally just showed up and just straight up assassinated this man. And it's not like they're just like highly trained ninjas or anything. They are literally just kids. I'm like, I know they might have been getting some training from like Leonardo and stuff. I know Leonardo did not train them to do that. You would not train no fucking kid to be no damn assassin. Like, what the hell? Like, they just show up, like, they snuck up on him, got behind, like, they got up on his shoulder, bam, slit his throat. What the hell? And then on top of that, like, there was, like, a big explosion, like a building level explosion, which the Weasel Girls end up surviving, of course, and Alopex ends up picking them up and going off somewhere else. But If the throat slit didn't work, then apparently the building explosion probably did. But we don't really have too much confirmation on that yet. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure more than likely Man Ray's definitely dead. So I feel like, wow, that was just dumb. But again, like I said, I really don't like Sophie Campbell's writing, and you can see why. All right, next up, I have Krang. Now, this is also pretty dumb, in my opinion. Not as dumb as like Terrell's ending and Man Ray's, because I feel like at least with Terrell, he had a lot of potential, but they just kind of wasted it. Krang has at least done some things, and he's definitely had some arcs here and there, but I feel like he should have gone out in a more of a blaze of glory. It's like basically he was fighting Michelangelo and Donatello. Then randomly, the king of the neutrinos just show up, and he has a gun. He's like, General Krang, with the other neutrinos and stuff, and he's like, what? And then he's like, I sentence you to death, and then he shoots him in the head. Like, literally, dude just teleports into the room, and then has a gun, and then bam, shoot him in the head with a little laser blaster or whatever. I was like, wow. They just killed off Krang. That was like, I just didn't know. I was perplexed. I was just like, bro. So, yeah, so General Krang is dead now. And then last but not least, we also have Metalhead, his partner in crime. Donatello, after Krang's death, Donatello pretty much had pretty much used his bow staff and, pretty much shoved it through Metalhead, killing him pretty much. So, yeah, or, his own robot. I know Donatello, basically he created Metalhead and all that stuff, and Metalhead has like this consciousness and everything, and yeah. But I guess, Donatello had to put him down. But I just feel like some of these deaths definitely could have handled, like, it definitely could have been handled more. I feel like it should have dragged on a little bit more. It just felt like it was just too quick and too simple, But yeah, because if you're going to give these characters an end, at least give them like a major character arc or something, like this like big story arc where it's like, okay, this is like, you know what I mean? And then you just kill off the character, and then you create a new character or a new villain or something like that. That's just my opinion. But yeah, that's the my entire body count so far for the Ninja Turtles and the IDW comics and stuff. If I missed anybody, let me know, and like tell me what you think about some of these characters and stuff. Like, what are your opinions and stuff of like the characters that I've talked about that got killed off? Like, some of it seems spiteful. Some of it is like, yeah, that's tragic as hell. And then some is like, oh, wow, that was pretty fucked up. But, yeah. So anyways, this is Keenan Fox, and I'm out. Peace.